Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Carissa.
Perfect. And everyone, hey, how you doing? Welcome into the program. Today on the show, we have a regular here on the show. That is the one, the only, Mr. Nathan Evans. He, of course, is the managing editor over at Popzara.com. Check that out there. We'll have a link in the show notes. But if you want anything with a nice mix of everything from book reviews to video games to podcasts to all that and more, reviews, of course, check out Popzara.com. And, of course, we have Nathan here every single month to, hey, talk to us. He's a very fun guy to talk to, and a lot of great conversations that we don't have at any other point in the month. So, Carissa, this is going to be your first time here on the show with him, and it's going to be fun. Nathan is one of the more, let's just say, I'm glad that we have him on a Friday because it's relaxing for no other reason. So there you go. Exactly. So, with that being said, everyone, computeramerica.com, just throw that there real quick. That's where you'll find everything, including past shows, future shows, podcasts, reviews, articles, archives, and more. And hey, we'll again have a link to everything that we discuss here today. Find us on social media at Computer America, and I think that's about it. So, Carissa, unless you have anything that you want to announce, I think we're good to go.
I'm ready.
All right, perfect. So, as I said before, Popzara.com, if you haven't heard of them, they help us do a lot of things around Computer America, including convention coverage, as well as helping us with correspondence and covering, a lot of video games, and as well as just day-to-day topics. And we're always happy to have anyone from the team on, but we're especially happy to have on Nathan Evans. So, Nathan, welcome back on to Computer America. How you doing?
What's going on, Ben? And hello, new co-host. This is my first time with both of you.
Yeah, hi, Nathan.
Same show. You're in for a treat.
It should be fun. Should be very fun. So, with that being said, before we get started, Nathan, if you would like to give people a quick rundown of what they can find over at Popzara.com.
You mean today or in general?
In general, what do you strive to do there?
Well, we strive world peace, save the whales, Greenpeace, that sort of thing, and systemic racism. But no, typically it's a little bit of a bazaar of pop culture, spanning the worlds of technically video games, tech like you love, Ben, book reviews, movie reviews, all sorts of fun stuff. We have a regularly updated podcast. Our mascot is a little fun dinosaur. We're in the process of revamping the site a little bit because you have to do that because no one likes last year's fashions. but generally speaking, it's a little bit of fun. And you like it because you just like that dinosaur. That's the problem.
And for the longest time that we've been on there, we've always called him your capped mascot, your dinosaur. Does he have a name? I apologize. Does it have a name?
Does it have a name?
Don't want to assume genders.
Well, the bow tie and the hat might give it away, and the lack of genitalia. But the fact is, no, that's Spiffy the dinosaur.
Spiffy?
Yeah, that is. It is not M. Bison. It is not Yoshi. It is not Dino. It's a mix of all of them. No, it's kidding. He's he's just a little fun dinosaur character that's evolved over the years to become sort of the placement. He's silent, not deadly. If you've ever watched Denver the Last Dinosaur, it's kind of like that, only not purple, and he does not play a guitar.
Well, hey, room for improvement. So that's something good to hear. And by the way, of course, you can check all that out there. And always a lot of great content. Although I will say that you have this rundown that I'm kind of interested in jumping right into first, which is this. You can find it on your site, but since I have you here, the state of gaming for August, because just the other day, I think it was Gamescom was the big thing, and I think that'd be a good place to kind of start.
Okay, well, I haven't followed Gamescom as much as some. I'll be honest with you. One of the great things about COVID-19, one of the things that I love about a virus that is taking over the world, is that we don't have to go to these horrible game shows anymore. And I mean, you know how I feel about E3 and a few others. I like gaming as a hobby. I follow it. I write about it. I talk about it. It's kind of fun. But there's nothing more execrable to me than having to go to one of these game shows. It's like the worst elements of the things you love. Like, for example, if you ever get married and you love your wife or significant other, and you love their cooking, you love that. None of that. It's all the bad stuff. It's all the arguments. It's the toiletries. It's all the bad stuff. That's what a game show is. It's all the bad stuff. You don't get to enjoy the games. You don't get to have privacy. They are in your face trying to advertise to you. The cool thing about it, though, is that Gamescom has been one of the better game shows the last few years because it's been in Germany. So unless you want to get a flight all the way to Europe to go there, no, you get to watch it online. And since E3 has collapsed, Gamescom has sort of taken over. They showed up this year. They had their big show. I was talking to one of my other games editors today who actually follows it left and right. Yeah. And he told me a lot of the trailers were exciting. And a lot of them were not exactly surprising. But again, a lot of it is more iterative stuff. I think you have like Fall Guys Season 2. By the way, Fall Guys, what the heck?
It's almost funny because like Fall Guys, since you were last on, Fall Guys was released and it kind of swept everyone up in this storm of like almost like Mario Party style gameplay that just so many people enjoyed.
It's really crazy. You have other updates for like the usual suspects like World of Warcraft. You have DLC updates for Doom Eternal, which will hopefully fix part of the games. One of the things that really surprised me was they showed off Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition, so I can finally play the game in peace. I have stories about that. I don't know. It's just you have a lot of fun stuff that focuses on where it should be, which is the games, and that's something you don't really see a lot with game shows. It's mostly just hyperbole and a lot of broken promises and lowered expectations. But it's like I said, if you're into it, a lot of this stuff titillated you. I think what titillated most was the Star Wars stuff. I think there's some new Star Wars titles that were released.
You're talking about The Sims. Wait.
The Sims.
It's infuriating, that new expansion pack.
The Sims.
The Sims Star Wars 4, for anyone out there watching the video portion, you can see it there. But this is probably going to get DMCA'd. But The Sims 4 and a nice Star Wars crossover. Although I'm trying to think about it, before the last movie was released, I think Fortnite had a huge Star Wars crossover. Star Wars was like in everything. So is this surprising?
No, I think Disney will find a way to degrade this franchise even more. I think their goal is to just make no one like Star Wars. Like, here's the thing, though. Do you like peanut butter?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, do you like peanut butter on jelly? You like peanut butter? Okay,
yeah.
But what if I said, let's put peanut butter is so good on jelly, it got to be good in coffee, right? Let's put peanut butter in coffee. You know what? Peanut butter on steak. Let's just put peanut butter on everything.
Just willy-nilly, why not?
Exactly. It doesn't always fit. And what people don't understand, I'm not going to get into the Star Wars thing, but I will say this, and you sound like a Star Wars fan, right? Are you a big Star Wars fan?
Carissa?
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I don't hate Star Wars. I've seen the 7 movies. I haven't seen anything past that. I haven't seen like The Mandalorian.
But she's a big Sims fan, is the thing.
Yeah.
I have a story about The Sims, by the way. I want to humble brag a little bit. So, but I will say this though. One of the things that kept Star Wars so famous for so long, was the lack of movies. Like for a long time, the whole franchise was built around 3 movies and a lot of auxiliary stuff like books that only the real nerds read, which means not me. I didn't read those things, but they were all over the place. But if you liked them, they were there. They were I can't talk today. They were inauspiciously inconspicuous. And then all of a sudden the prequels came and people say now they hated them. They didn't hate them when they came out. Trust me. They loved them.
Sweet when they came out.
They loved them. And then only when the internet told them to hate them did they realize, yeah, I hate them now. No, you didn't. You saw the damn things like 20 times. Stop it. Stop it. You don't see a movie 20 times if you hate it. So anyway, now with the Disney stuff, there have been more Star Wars movies in the last 6 years than there have in the last 40 years. It is overkill. Nobody seems to like these new things. Like, isn't it strange that the prequels are more beloved than the new movies? It's crazy. They've been divisive. They've been look.
There's such a mixed response to all the movies that you would even say that in some cases, like the movie Solo, I think a lot of people like when it first came out, they're like critics didn't like it, and people definitely didn't go spend their money to go see it, probably because it just came out like just after another Star Wars movie. But then looking back, they're like Solo was one of the better movies.
No. Don't do that. Don't do that. The movie didn't bomb because it came out after another Star Wars movie. Otherwise, all the Marvel movies would bomb. It came out because The Last Jedi was so terrible that it derailed the franchise. Like, people have to understand, Star Wars was not a beloved franchise because it was impenetrable. It was beloved because it was sacrosanct. And when you start diddling with it, right? When you start diddling, like for example, I don't want to talk about it, but they showed off a new trailer for the new Call of Duty, right?
Call of Duty Cold War.
And you know who's in it? Ronald Reagan. It's weird because the Call of Duty franchise has avoided having real people, right? So now you have this. And by the way, I don't know who rendered the Ronald Reagan character, but he looks like he's got butt cheeks on his face. Like, it doesn't look right.
I did not pick up on that. The only criticism, or not really criticism, the only thing that I can say, and like they Call of Duty has gotten in trouble for some of its trailers before. One of them is, of course, when Russian operatives took over an airport, and there's a whole airport scene killing civilians, things like that. I think that there is like the closest flashpoint you could say is when Ronald Reagan is having you sell heroin to black people in the Cold War. Like, that's an actual mission that they send you on.
Yeah, like, this is what happens when social justice invades video games.
Technically it happened,
it's important though, because like, let's say the school system fails you and you don't this stuff actually freaking happened. So like, the school system fails you and you get some of this information, like you just straight don't have it. You don't get it from school. You can't find it on the internet unless you're looking for it, and you don't know what you're looking for. So maybe it's important that you do have these things in video games. So obviously kids will learn about bits of history. Obviously it's dramatized.
Well, no, I agree with you. I completely agree. Although I disagree. I think the schools have already failed kids a lot for the most part. And they do get a lot of history from video games, right? I'm just saying, my biggest beef isn't what they're portraying. My biggest beef is that they made Ronald Reagan look like a butt cheek.
I have to find it because I'm not seeing it here in this article. So
do you remember Back to the Future 2 when they made Ronald Reagan a waiter in the Cafe 80s with the Ayatollah? Like, that looked better than this Ronald Reagan. And it's he looks like a Sims character.
They definitely tried to go like hyper realistic, and it's unfortunately hit that uncanny valley. They did. No. Come on, Nathan. You can't look at that CGI and go that.
Look at under his lip. What does that look like?
It's both great and terrible at the same time. Like,
look under his lip. Yeah, look under his nose. Look at his nose. That's a butt cheek.
Some people just have butt cheeks on their noses. I mean, what are you going to do about that?
Win one for the Gipper. That's all I have to say.
And I'm sticking by what I'm saying. They went definitely hyper realistic. So let's see. There's this picture. If you're watching the video portion, you can see what we're talking about here. But if you haven't, Ronald Reagan, I'm sure you've heard of him. Yeah, take a look at it. But there's this picture. So there's this picture, which is an actual photograph.
Look at his under his nose, smooth as a baby's butt. In the Call of Duty one,
it's photoshopped in that actual photo.
You think?
Well, look at his lines.
Definitely look at it. It's so smooth everywhere. It's definitely retouched.
Well, he's got the Kim Kardashian things.
Yeah, I don't see any stubble. I don't see any barely any wrinkles on his forehead. That's fake.
I think here's the thing. I'm going to play the game. We've had this argument before about how the argument was, do people want single player campaigns on these Call of Duty games? Mm-hmm. I have been on since the ground. I've known you for a long time, and I've always said, yes, people want the campaigns, and they've flirted with getting rid of them. No, I think they've finally realized that people want the campaigns, and so that now they're going full in with this. I wouldn't be surprised, right now, Oliver Stone is like, oh, video games are cool now. I've been telling this crap for years. So, no, I don't know. Like I said, it's except for the butt cheek, I'm okay with it. I'm totally okay with it. So,
it's certainly a different take, but I think at the same time it makes a lot of sense because Call of Duty tries to stay relevant. They tried to go futuristic with it, where it was like a future warfare or whatever.
I loved that game. That was my favorite.
It was a great Halo game, but it didn't sell as well as some of the other ones. Like you could see where Battlefield 1 went back to World War 1, and then Call of Duty immediately after that went back to World War 2. And also they came out with a remastered Modern Warfare, and now they're going to the Cold War. So they're trying to, kind of go back to, I don't say relatable, because of course Call of Duty, I mean, they're 16-year-olds, but they're trying to go back to relatable terms, and it makes a lot of sense with today's climate. There is tension with Russia and the U.S. like never before. So I think it's their attempt at being relevant with the title and everything.
I'm just glad that they're still using guns and they're not using computers, and the game's about hackers, because that would not be fun for me.
What game is that? Watch Dogs, I think, is the one where you
a game that attempted to make, this is true. This is actual true thing. They attempted to make hackers cool by having chubby hackers be able to do backflips. I'm sorry, no.
I love that.
It's cool. You can get the game for free, by the way, for your listeners. Mm-hmm. Ubisoft is giving Watch Dogs 2 away for free. I think they're still doing it if you sign up for their horrible Uplay service, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so, but I think they're gifting it because they're getting ready to release the new Watch Dogs, which is a little controversial because apparently you can hack into grandmothers and get them to your side. So all I'm saying is that if you're a chubby hacker and you could do backflips, go with that. You be you. You live your truth.
There you go. So
hacking is not as cool. I'm just saying hacking is not as cool unless you're Angelina Jolie and there's EDM.
There you go. But let's talk about some of these other games because there's a lot of games announced, and just a quick reaction from both of you guys. So Fall Guys 2, of course, Season 2. I mean, that thing just prints money. It got I want to say about 15 million downloads or something like that in the first week. It's cute if you haven't heard of it before. Lots of cosmetics. The games are simple and quick, party style. That thing just took off like crazy, and it's no surprise that that's up there.
I got to tell you something real quick. I wonder if the resurgence of Fall Guys is due to the removal of Fortnite on iOS. Because when you have the world's biggest game on iOS suddenly disappear, and all of a sudden this other thing comes in to suck the vacuum up, I'm wondering if this is like you remember the movie A League of Their Own with Gina Davis and Tom Hanks?
Not at all, but go ahead.
What about now? You in the back? You've seen that, right? You've seen A League of Their Own.
I've never seen that movie.
What? Okay, it's the movie with baseball where the girls play baseball during World War II.
I've definitely never seen that.
Okay, it's a good movie, but it's most famous because that's the movie that got Tom Hanks the role in Toy Story. Because there's a very famous scene where she's crying, and he's like, "There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball." That's Woody. And they're making a TV series off it on Amazon, I think. Good movie. Watch it. You'll cry. It's got Madonna and Rosie O'Donnell. So,
and by the way, Craig says he's seen it, so you're not making this up.
Well, duh.
There you go.
Of course, Craig's seen it. So what I'm saying, I think, but the girls' baseball was supposed to be a substitute for the men's baseball because the men's baseball was on hiatus for World War II. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if that's what Fall Guys is. Like, how does something become so massively popular? Because when something else massively popular suddenly disappears. So
and it really did off of iOS. That's a whole different topic because that gets us into games that have been out. But
here's the thing, man. We talked about the State of Gaming podcast from Popzara Corey, our mutual friend Corey Gallagher and I, we actually talk about that quite a bit, about what it means and why it happened. I think you'd be surprised that the general consensus, that has nothing to do necessarily with like restrictions on like walled gardens. It may have to do more with sandboxing game launchers like Epic Game Store. Like I don't want to get into it too much, but long story short, here's a TLDR version that I think it has less to do with Apple's restrictions and more on Epic Games sort of being provocative in trying to establish themselves as a legitimate competitor. Valve did the same thing to Microsoft years ago when they tried to one up Microsoft by going outside of their box and then trying to make their own hardware. Epic Games has become extremely popular. The Epic Game Store has become massively successful. And the only way to be more successful is to eliminate the competition. And if they can take on companies, remember, Google also took them off their store. It wasn't just Apple. Yep. So if they can be provocative and say, kick me out if you dare, then that draws a line in the sand about who's calling the shots. And it's going to be interesting to follow the story through.
Yeah, it's and really, I think that unfortunately, when it comes to taking on Apple, there aren't many people who can take on a $2.2 trillion company and have any kind of realistic chance of change. And
there's precedent though. I mean, Microsoft was taken on successfully because of Netscape. They don't forget, it's not just Epic. It's also Google. It's also Microsoft. Microsoft has joined, and again, but I think Microsoft has their own the exact same thing, because Apple forbade Microsoft from allowing their streaming service on the Apple platform. Like, this is not just one thing. This, to me, and I have absolutely no proof for it. This is total conspiracy theorist. If you could see me, I have a tinfoil hat. I'm Alex Jonesing it. The truth of the matter is that I think there's sort of a conspiracy. I think a lot of people have sort of sensed blood in the water, and by forming a coalition, they can take on Apple, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe Apple does need to be taken on.
And again, I'm glad that you covered this in your podcast, with Corey, because this is a topic that comes up every now and again, especially when it comes to this idea that, how do I put it? That I'm trying to think of the company that did this before with Apple. There have been a number of them who have. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Steam altogether. Steam, and they had to lower their rates because they were the only game in town. You had to pay their commission. To stay competitive, they dropped their commission that they were forcing. I think Apple needs the same treatment.
Exactly, you're exactly right. Valve was forced to make concessions to developers because of competition. I have no preference. I do. Sorry, I'm Scottish now. I didn't do it. But these app launchers are basically little mini walled gardens, and the idea of a PC is not really a walled garden. A PC is more like a mall where you have lots of little walled gardens inside of it, right? And so when you have Valve, you have Epic Games, you have EA Play, you have all this crap. Here's my thing. Valve made serious concessions simply because the competition was on their butt. And so, like a Ronald Reagan butt. And so the thing is, this is what competition does. This is the benefits of like red ocean capitalism, is the idea is that you can have better deals. You're forced this. And to be honest with you, I don't really care about me paying $1 to play a game. I care about the developer getting their just cause. The developer should not be held responsible for these anti-competitive practices from these developers. I mean, from these game stores. I mean, Valve, they used to make games at one point. They don't really make games anymore. Not really. They sell games that other people make. And so if they're going to get a cut of that, the service should include protection for that game for the developer and the player. And they haven't really done that, and competition is forcing them to do that, and that's good.
Right. And so with that being said, we're going to move on just a little bit to some of the other games that were announced. I just got to say that Bandai Namco, said that they're coming out with Little Nightmares 2. Did you get any kind of reaction? Did you have someone review it, or did you play Little Nightmares, the first one?
I didn't play it, but I wonder if I think we have a review of it. I'm not sure. You have to forgive me. There's a lot of these games that are very samey.
Yeah.
The whole Japanese aesthetic horror thing. I have to get back to you.
What was kind of like a puzzle solving game. It was it had a very, like you said, horror kind of feel to it, and like you get these different screens that you get to move around, but the screen didn't really follow you. It just kind of moved around within the different settings, and it was very interesting. I loved the look of it, and hey, happy to see a second one. So there's that one.
I apologize. The game I was thinking of was another similar game called Yomawari. It's a Nightmare Collection. Very similar aesthetic. I want to say really hyper, like what do they say in Japanese? Like kawaii. It's very, very cute, very, very adorable. Horror. So it's kind of a mishmash of things.
Gotcha. So with that, you glossed over it. This is the game that I've loved for the past 14 years is World of Warcraft, Shadowlands. For those of you who don't know that Shadowlands, hey, they announced that they are going to be releasing the next expansion October 27th or the 26th. It's October 27th, Greenwich Mean Time. So wherever you land on there. So October 26th. And yeah, that's like a month sooner than I think a lot of people were looking.
You're giving an announcement to listeners. You're telling them like they don't know this already. Like it's like heroin. They know. They got it tattooed.
If you care about World of Warcraft, then you already know you're right. And the only thing I got to say that like the immediate reaction that I picked up from the internet is that first of all, it's earlier than they expected, and second of all, WoW over the years has really had an open beta where if you want to get into the beta, you will most likely get into the beta. There's still so much work to be done on the game that a lot of people feel like it's going to be, maybe they'll fix a lot of the stuff that's wrong with it in the next patch. But
let me ask Clarissa. I heard you. I apologize if I stepped over you. Are you a World of Warcraft fan?
I used to be a long time ago. Well, I guess not too long ago. I actually got back into it kind of recently when they re-released the vanilla stuff.
Classic, yeah.
See, I have never been a fan of it. I respect it, right? I respect it. And so, but I here's the way it goes for me. I see people who played it, fell off, got back onto it, fell off, got back onto it. See, that's called yo-yoing. That's how diets fail. So it's like, we call that Oprahing. That's the Oprah thing.
Yes, quitting WoW is definitely a failing venture. Never do it. You always have to continue playing. So,
but my point, my question to you guys, because you guys both play World of Warcraft. Have you both noticed that with Blizzard, something's up with that company? Like Blizzard used to be like the watermark standard of PC development a long time ago. They used to have this stuff chiseled out of stone. It was perfection. But over the last few years, they've been releasing some shoddy stuff, and most of it's been rehashes and reports. And the idea that a World of Warcraft expansion would not be up to snuff is kind of bizarre to me. Yeah, it's like weird to me because they've never really had that problem of delivering a product.
It's Blizzard. It's a lot of different companies doing this too. Bethesda did it when they were trying to throw out Fallout 76.
Oh God, let's not talk about that mess.
Well, what I'm saying with WoW though, it's happened before, and Nathan, it's almost like you fell for the same thing that you were warning people against with the Star Wars movies. Saying that looking back, people hated the prequels when at the time they loved it. It's kind of the opposite for WoW though. I would say Warlords of Draenor. We saw them hit their peak again of like 14 million, and then it just fell off a cliff because the game was so bad, and it only had like 3 weeks worth of content before people were like, "I'm out of here." Mists of Pandaria was at the as it was
popular,
hopping.
Right? Yeah,
no. People hated the panda thing. They thought it was pandering to China. They did not like it really at all. Cataclysm changed so much. People had a lot of qualms with it. It was supposed to be like a refresh for the whole thing. There have been expansions that they did not fix a lot of things. And I would say that, some of it's nostalgia, but releasing shoddy expansions, that goes back at least 7-8 years.
Okay. Granted, I don't follow it, but I will say this, though. The last few years have seen Blizzard release remasters of old games more than normal. And this
Warcraft
is a
3 was shoddy. Warcraft 3 remaster was shoddy. StarCraft, they had like a cartoon thing that was like, everyone's like, eh. Blizzard has been not developing to their peak.
Or almost not even developing. Like, that's the strange part of this thing. Like, to be fair, okay, full disclosure, Blizzard and Popzara work together. They send us products. They do this. They've sent us virtual shows to BlizzCon. We like them, but we're fair about this. But as an outside observer, I think of two things when I think of World of Warcraft. Two things. One, it's still around, and two, in this age of MOBAs and this age of free-to-play and this age, somehow World of Warcraft has retained its status as the most popular, whatever the hell it is. And that's impressive. Like, that's still impressive to me that the game has the longevity it does. And that's, I don't know, to me it points to it like the future of games as a service. But I'm wondering if there's an obligation that there needs to be some more quality control. Because, again, it does seem like that's the way a lot of games are going today.
Somehow Blizzard was able to keep WoW alive, from pioneering the subscription-based model to a time when free-to-play and, kind of microtransactions ruled the earth. And now subscription-based model has come back again thanks to like Netflix and things like that, and people are like, hey, this is okay. They have survived that entire thing. Like, they are the constant. But I gotta say, if you want to talk about a hot mess, Amazon and New World. Have you heard anything about that one, Nathan?
No, I usually
There's the
say
problem.
No, here's the thing. I usually say anything associated with Amazon is usually a hot mess because they are clearly a company that does not know how to shepherd any products. Like you name it. Like, for example, they have good shows on Amazon Prime. Good luck finding them. They have good movies on Amazon Prime. Same thing. When it comes to development of games, their game development history has been not even a chart. It's been almost non-existent. Like, they want whatever Apple, whatever Google has, whatever you have, but they don't seem to understand that curation and adherence to quality control is important. Like, I love Amazon to death. I just don't love all their individual pieces to death.
Well, and that's really what they are.
It looks pretty good to me.
Yeah. So anyone out there watching the video portion, you can of course see the trailer here, and I gotta say that I've seen some of the gameplay. You can get into the beta by pre-ordering it. I found that a little, I didn't do that, but I gotta say that visually the game looked better than most of the new entries.
This is just CG though. I mean, like, this is the trailer. It's not a game.
This is the trailer, not the gameplay.
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, exactly. Like anybody can make a CG trailer. I mean, they do it all the time. But like, when the game comes out, I mean, so many, like 90% of beautiful games are terrible. We know this. It's the ratio. If they what are they going for this with this? Like, what's the thing? Is it a MOBA?
It is supposed to be an MMO. So it's going to have that social aspect. It's open world. You can, kind of do quests, and their big thing is it's going to be mainly player versus player. So you can kill anyone that you see that isn't part of your guild or your faction that you set up, and it's going to be open world PvP MMO, going for that organic, kind of run into anyone and start combat. I've seen the gameplay, and I think most people get through the entire beta within about 2 days. It takes about 2 days to get to level 20. There's just, like, unfortunately, the game right now, because Amazon hasn't really put out that many games before, and tackling something as big as an MMO is very ambitious. And what happened is that the game right now is just a mess of a good-looking game, good models, good everything. You can definitely tell Amazon put money into this, but then when it comes to like complexity of gameplay, it's go here, kill 5 of these, open chest, go back to where you started, and it's just that like 15,000 times over and over and over again.
Like I said, I'm talking as a complete neophyte here. This is stuff I should know, but my expertise is this. I'm not a pessimist, right? I'm a realist. So the graveyard of WoW competitors is filled with games that looked better than WoW. It is filled with games that were more ambitious than WoW. It is filled with games that had higher development standards than WoW. Like, a company that comes out and thinks that they can just co-opt a genre or co-opt a game and have all these production values, and they think they're going to succeed, history says no, you're probably not. And so you need to have something core. And like I said, I don't know. I mean, I haven't played this. I don't know. But, Clarissa, you mentioned Fallout 76, right?
Yeah.
Well, Fallout 76 was a mess from the ground up. But let me tell you something, though. As messy as it was, apparently they've stuck with it, and apparently they've improved it.
Yes.
but they've improved it by removing all the stuff they promised. Like there were not going to be any NPCs. It was everybody was going to be real. You could attack anybody. Turns out that's not a lot of fun. So you want some. I don't think it was
even that. I just don't think there were enough people that were on board because everyone was all salty because I don't know, people on the internet get that way about video games.
Oh, I need to introduce you to Corey. He thinks exactly like the way you do. Exactly. No,
So I mean, there just weren't enough people playing, so you didn't have enough people. It wasn't saturated enough to actually do that. And I have started it back up since it has been updated. Mm-hmm. And wow, these NPCs like make the whole game. Like you gotta have them. Like,
exactly. Like, can you imagine like only being around people just like you? You want to break from that. No offense. If I was stuck,
talk to you and stuff. I don't want to do that. I just
want to kill you. I don't want to feel bad about it.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, but you know what I mean? Like they have these games that are really ambitious. And the truth of the matter is, and I'm going to say this, and it's going to pee off a lot of people. Video gamers don't really like innovation very much. They like tried and true. Like they will take an ugly, nasty looking, wretched performing game that has its basic cores right. That's the birth of this indie stuff. That's why the most popular games on esports are not new games. They're old pixelated games because they do core things really, really, really well. Like League of Legends and all that stuff. They don't really care. You could make the best looking photo. Like Ben, how many times have we talked about the next generation of games? Like I don't want to get into a PS5, Xbox One. Like those presentations were disasters because and I have told you this for years, and I'm not going to toot my own horn, but what did I say? I said when they show these new consoles off, people are going to be expecting the next coming of Christ because they think the graphics are going to be so photorealistic. It's like looking in a mirror. They weren't. No. Because they band-aided graphics so much.
They even hyped up the ability to do 4K, 120 FPS, that kind of thing. And you know, even the next gen consoles aren't even promising that anymore. And they said, you know, we would get that from the Xbox One X, but we didn't.
You know what's funny? Are you looking at is this Age of Empires 3?
Yeah, the definitive edition. Yeah.
This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Age of Empires 2 was so beloved. It was so beloved. It was the game that knocked StarCraft 2 off its perch. It was the game that founded Ensemble Studio, that made Ensemble Studios a thing. Microsoft purchased them. I don't know if you knew this, Clarissa, but they were trying to turn Microsoft Studios into a BattleNet. They created this entire online infrastructure. It was terrible. It was garbage. The game itself had 3D graphics. It looked so modern. And you know what? It was a huge dud. Because people preferred the old look and style because the gameplay was more pure. The gameplay of the new game was too rasterized. It was too limited in the scope. And so the game quickly, look, I liked Age of Empires 3 fine. I did not love it. To this day, people still play Age of Empires 2. It is still selling. They still make expansions for it. They've decided that Age of Empires 2 and that way it looks was the way to go. Yeah. And I'm really surprised we're seeing a new Age of Empires. I never thought we'd see it again. I thought it was the stepchild. I never thought they would touch it again. Maybe they could fix it. I mean, Blizzard didn't really fix Warcraft 3, but maybe they can fix. Maybe they can fix this.
Yeah, I think that there's merit to revisiting old games because you know, hey, you're always going to do that. You're always going to go back to what you've done before and see if you can spruce it up. But yeah, so there's that one. And by the way, I just want to keep this moving because we're like more than half an hour into this, and we still haven't gotten through all the games. Medal of Honor, speaking of a blast from the past, there you go. Above and Beyond, a new game coming up for that. Unknown 9 Awakening, I believe that's a new title and a new game that was revealed. Surgeon Simulator. Nathan,
hold on a second. Wait. You missed the lead, Ben. Medal of Honor is going to be VR.
I missed the lead because I didn't know that. And yeah, but hey, look, Oculus right there. Yeah, it's going to be out on Oculus. Yeah, you say bleh. There was a game at Fun Depot, which was an arcade that we went to growing up. And they had this arcade machine that you stuck your head in that 1,000 other sweaty kids stuck their heads in. It was perfect. And by the way, in the age of COVID, that'd be like a death warrant. But I got to say that like you pull this thing down over your head and you had these two joysticks that were kind of like in front of you and you just spin around in circles and you look ridiculous. But, you know, I think it was it was like a D-Day kind of thing, you know, like the beach of Normandy, and you know, you kind of do the thing and you shoot people through a turret, but it works so well. Admittedly, this is this is beyond just kind of like a shoot 'em up like the arcade game was, but
Yeah.
I've seen military games do well in like a VR style setting.
The problem with VR is the same problem it always has. Like I look at this game, it looks fun. It looks like it could be entertaining in another setting. But the problem about VR, like the same problem we always had, the reason that VR is never going to catch on the way people think it is, it's for two reasons. Do you remember the Nintendo Wii? I don't want to revisit the old how it is, but do you remember the Nintendo Wii?
Yeah, weird form factor, yeah.
Yeah, and it was fun. Hey, I'm really playing tennis, right? That's cool. I'm really swinging my arms. You know what happens when you're trying to play games for 8 hours a day, which these people do, when you're swinging your arms? They get tired. They don't want to do it. Like, you have to reduce the torque level of interaction to thumbsticks or keyboard and mouse. But if you're swinging your arms around all day, look, gamers are known for a lot of things. Athleticism ain't one of them.
Physical prowess. Yep.
Yeah, and like I said, they say this game is made Respawn. I assume it's like a third party working with Respawn Entertainment.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's like the Half-Life game that just, what was the name of that one that just came out on?
Alex.
Same exact thing. People got excited for 10 seconds and they completely ignored it. The problem is, it's that I'm not sure VR is a gaming mechanism. Like the same way I'm not sure 3D is a movie mechanism. It's cool. It's gimmicky. It promises the world, but it just doesn't seem to work. And I'm wondering if it ever will work.
I'm hoping it does. I'm hoping it does because I set up my new office so I can play VR. So I'm hoping it does.
I hope it will. I think it won't. Again, I've been pessimistic since the first day. And remember, you're talking to somebody who's gone to these trade shows, that experimented with everyone, has talked to everybody, and they've never made a compelling reason for it to work. And it just doesn't seem to work. And I'm wondering if it's... Do you remember
Nathan?
3D? Remember when 3D was a thing? What's that?
Yes, Nathan, you are, no offense, you're being your mascot here. Me and Carissa both agree. You're being your mascot. You're being a dinosaur.
What's that? I am being a dinosaur.
You got to come into the modern age.
Well, I mean, the modern age keeps getting promised, but the modern age never comes.
Well, you have to get there somehow, so you got to keep trying different things until you actually get it right. So it's going to take 1,000 years, but they'll get there.
1,000 years. It's going to happen. You know, Isaac Newton was one of the smartest men who ever lived, right? One of the smartest men. He helped develop the laws of thermodynamics and physics, right? But he also believed in alchemy, and he spent the last part of his life, 30 years of his life, trying to prove alchemy. He knew he could do it. He knew he could do it. He knew he could turn things into gold. He knew it. He wrote books. He wrote more about alchemy. Yeah. And he died of poisoning because he poisoned himself trying to do this.
Mercury, right? Yeah.
Mercury. Yeah. His hair was so toxic it would flame. So what I'm saying is, smart people make dumb decisions. And all I'm saying is that I'm all for VR if it works. But when it happens, I will eat crow. But I have not eaten crow in 5 years.
So Nathan, what if I entice you over to the VR side with Sam and Max, a classic game, VR?
I would say someone is scamming you. Because there is no reason something like Sam and Max should be in VR. I'm so sorry.
Because nobody has anything creative anymore. They just want to redo the same games over and over, just like the movie theaters. It's all the same.
Exactly. It's like I said, it's movie. Like I said, 3D immersion in movies is cool for something like Avatar, right? It's cool for certain things, but at a certain point, though, does the gimmick add to it? And the answer is for most things, I don't think it does.
Maybe if you took some drugs, it might.
I think drugs would definitely be required.
Computer America does not advocate the use of drugs. So, moving on here, World of Warcraft, Destiny 2 Beyond Light.
By the way, a bucket of popcorn and 3 gallons of soda is a type of drug, but it's not the type of drug I think we're talking about. Do not do drugs. Don't go to the movie theaters because of COVID. That's the excuse.
There you go.
Correct.
Now, Destiny 2 Beyond Light, and Chris, I don't believe that you are a fan of Destiny. Nathan, I believe that you are. I know that Corey spent tons of time on Destiny.
Was Destiny the show that was, or the game that was connected to the TV show that was based off, like the story changed based off what was happening?
No.
On the video game?
No, Destiny was essentially the next iteration of Halo, and it was kind of like almost like an MMO, but it was like an online.
Didn't know what it wanted to be.
It was Bungie's next shooter. That's what it was, and it continues to be. So,
can I say something about this? Destiny has now largely gone free to play.
Yeah.
It has basically become a component in a lot of free-to-play stuff. It was massively ambitious. It was supposed to be, like you said, from the creators of Halo, because Activision snatched them away. By the way, Activision was very, very good at snatching developers away from other companies. That's how we got Call of Duty, by the way.
Yeah.
So, but this was supposed to be a bastard child of Halo, Call of Duty, and World of Warcraft. And it was from a lot of the publishers of all those things.
Wow.
It didn't work out because it wasn't good enough. And they kept tinkering with the formula. They kept tinkering. What it was, to be honest with you, Clarissa, is that eventually you'd see games get this formula right. You'd see Fortnite get it right. You'd see other things get it right. But they didn't do it because it was too much of one. It was too little of another. People were defensive of it. They were trying to claim it was the future. But I got to tell you something. Never been on board with Destiny. Never. But I know people love it. And if I can make a little disclaimer, the programmer of Popzara loves this game. It is he bought an Xbox One X just to play it. Fool. So we got him a PC. We built him a PC, and now he's all PC. This game, Destiny, moved him away from Mac. Like, it got him off the Mac.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
I know.
It's habit forming. I would say I really do like Destiny, and I'm happy to see the new expansion. So you can definitely see that there. Warhammer, Age of Sigmar. Is this one of the kind of like the battleground or like the no? This might be a first player.
You got me on Warhammer. That's like a different religion. Right there.
Yeah, that's a whole nother level of nerd. Crash Bandicoot 4, of course, because why not? Outriders, no idea. Necromunda, Underhive Wars, again, no idea. So there you go.
But there's so many new games. They sound stupid, but they're new.
Yeah, and
but
that's
they might
not
be
bad.
fun. Yeah, exactly.
That's not bad. So yeah, and we're gonna have this PC Gamer article available in the show notes. You can check out some of these that we didn't cover, but we're gonna go ahead and move on from other games. But yeah, new games coming out.
Corey wanted me to say a little PSA that Wasteland 3 is out on Game Pass now, and he said he loves it. He said it's really good. You should try it out.
You should just do a PSA about Games Pass in general, because I think during Gamescom they really highlighted, just how much stuff is on Games Pass.
I sound like a shill for it though. I sound like I'm getting paid. I'm not getting paid.
A good deal is a good deal.
No, I mean, but I don't think Game Pass is a good deal. I think it's the future. Like, I actually think Game Pass is the most revolutionary thing of this generation. Like, I've said this before. I think if Microsoft got their bantha poo together and actually understood what they were doing, Game Pass is their killer app. Like, it's the most revolutionary thing I've seen a game company do in a long time. It's really good, and it's a really, really good value. And it also offers developers a way for infiltration. I haven't seen the likes of this since Netflix. Like, in fact, like the way Netflix resurrected old TV shows that no one liked, the way Netflix resurrected careers, I think Game Pass has a way, if Microsoft just plays their cards right and they don't screw it up, and they tried their hardest.
Yeah, you even brought up this article here from CNET, and it's an opinion piece, but he's saying that it's what might finally take him away from iPhone to Android.
No. He's not going to switch. He's lying.
I think that this was more of a more of like a starting off point for us than it was, talking about this guy's actual opinions, because let's face it, mobile games, it doesn't really influence anyone here in the US, at least.
These aren't mobile games, so that's the thing. These aren't mobile games. This is basically what Microsoft's doing, is Microsoft's putting their streaming service and making it available for Android, because Apple already said that the app's not going to be allowed on iOS, which is a big deal, because Microsoft promised it would be on iOS. It's basically, you can stream the games like Stadia, like a lot of services. You can stream Xbox One games onto your device using an Xbox controller. Again, doesn't sound like my idea of a great time, but it's a good option. And Microsoft has promised to roll the service. Okay, I'm using scare quotes, for free. But in this case, it might actually, exactly. Like, you're paying for it. You're paying for it. But you're not paying any more for it. So it's not technically free, but it's not, I don't know. We need a new word to describe what this is. Grafting? It's grafted on?
Yeah. I hope that Microsoft can do, can kind of pull this off, because I think that a lot of other companies can do exactly what Games Pass is currently doing, either through the Epic Store, the EA Play Store, or whatever. I think that a lot of other companies could definitely do this as well. It's just going to take some kind of acceptance between all the different ecosystems that are currently out there. So
yes, they do have some leverage being a large ecosystem. The problem is, how do you solve for X? X would be literally X. X would be the synergy between the Xbox console platform and the Windows platform, which is becoming more and more intertwined in a good way.
Yeah.
You start to see this with a service like Xbox Gamepass Ultimate, which combines all the Microsoft services into one. And if they can do this, if they can pull this off, if they can turn Xbox into a game service, they have a winner. They have a winner there. They have a killer app that could potentially change the game system, the game environment. I mean, you just heard like the new Call of Duty games are going to be $70 on the next generation thing, and that's just a starting point. They're going to get more expensive.
But at what point are people going to be like they're wasting their money doing this because then you don't like physically have a copy of the game in like your hand?
I'll tell you what. I have an answer to your question, and I don't like the answer because I don't agree with the answer. Right? I'm old. I love physical stuff. I love having copies. I have copies of Red Dead Redemption 2. I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2 on my Xbox One the other day because I haven't played it. And I'm like, oh wow, I'm glad I have this disc, and I didn't realize until I was playing it that the game was on Game Pass. I didn't realize it. I didn't need the disc, right? I was like, I paid for this damn game. There is a documentary that came out this year. Let me find it for you real quick. I actually interviewed the guy who did it, and it was a documentary about video game stores. About okay, let me get it for you.
Yeah.
So basically, and he interviews all these game developers. He interviews the last remaining video game stores that deal with secondhand games, and the argument is becoming very clear. By the way. By the way, the documentary is called Not for Resale, and I'll send you the link to the podcast. But long story short, it was frightening for me because I'm on the side of the old people. I'm on the side of the collectors. But Clarissa, the truth is these kids today, they don't care. And that's what's scary because they think, oh, I will trade ownership of a $60 game to have access to 100 games for a month. The problem is you're not going to be able to play 100 games a month. And if you are playing 100 games a month, you're not playing them all that well. So instead, what people do on the streaming services, on the a la carte services, they end up playing like one or two. It's like Netflix. Like you have access to 10 billion movies and you only end up watching 2.
Right.
But you pay for it, so it funds Netflix. The problem then becomes what happens when games age out of the Game Pass service. What happens? And they're not available. And that's the problem. And
that's the same problem that you have with video streaming services. When I know that personally, when Futurama left for Hulu off of Netflix lost a lot of its appeal because that's what I used it for. It was my Futurama streaming machine.
Well, it's funny. What happened today, one of my favorite TV shows the last 2 years is called Cobra Kai. We talked about Cobra Kai, the Karate Kid spinoff.
Yeah, of course.
And it was the killer app for YouTube Red when YouTube decided they wanted to be a streaming service. It was the only thing they had. Everything else on YouTube Red was garbage. Everything else was garbage. It was unrepentant trash.
It's okay because YouTube TV doubled its price recently, so you're welcome.
Well, no, YouTube Red disappeared though. And then YouTube Red became something else. Then that failed. They became something else. You know what today is? Cobra Kai is on Netflix today.
Really?
Yeah, season 1 and 2. If you want to watch Cobra Kai, the best show on YouTube, it's on Netflix. Netflix is going to continue the series. See, Netflix does it better than YouTube. And here's the problem. You have 1 billion game services you're subscribing. It's like music, by the way. It's very close to music. You had all these music services. They were all crap. The only ones that were worth a damn were Apple Music and Spotify. Full disclosure, I subscribe to Spotify. I love music, right? I used to have a CD collection bigger than your house. But then you realize you don't listen to discs all the time. But I do. But to me, the trade is acceptable. The trade is acceptable because I can listen to more music and enjoy it. I can discover things. The discovery is what I'm really paying for. If I really like something, I'll get a copy of it. Trust me, I'll find it. But the average person doesn't do it. But here's the flip side. Final thought. Go to Walmart right now. Go to the electronic aisle, and you know what they're selling? Vinyl records. Vinyl records
That's true.
are the hardest way to listen to music possible. It is really hard to enjoy vinyl records. You need the right player. You need the right sound system. You can only listen to one track at a time. If you jump up and down, it skips. It'll scratch. The more you use it, it is a pain in the ass to try to listen to vinyl. But for the person who wants the vinyl, the options are there for them to get it. So if this new age, and this is hard for me to admit, okay, this is really hard. if you really want it, the means are there. But if you're like everybody else and just too lazy to collect things and you don't care about ownership, that's there too. And so I get it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I would rather a kid who doesn't know anything about Mega Man and Super Mario to be able to try it and see if he likes it when all his other friends are playing Fortnite and some other crap, and he gets the exposure that he wouldn't get if he had to pay $60. Like on Switch, you have to pay $60 to play everything. But if it's on a Gamepass service, you don't have to pay $60. Like, I believe more people probably played Streets of Rage 4 on Gamepass simply because it was there, as opposed to the $30 version on Switch or the $40 version on PlayStation. So yeah, so if discovery is part of it, I'm cool with that. I'm just cool with that.
So yeah, and all that made perfect sense. I wanted to get in like 3 more topics because we have like 5 minutes and we're just going to run through these really quick. The first one is Switch, and Carissa, if I'm not mistaken, you have a Switch, correct?
I do.
Okay. Carissa.
Switch Lite though.
Switch Lite, perfect.
No!
No. That is perfect.
Go.
That is perfect though for what I want to ask. So I'll start with Carissa, and then of course Nathan, your response. But Nathan submitted this story here about Nintendo reportedly looking at a 4K re-release of a Switch, so a Switch that would support 4K. Would you be interested in that? Especially considering you went with the Switch Lite, which is, doesn't have the detachable Joy-Cons, and I think it's like a little bit less screen. Yeah, essentially a Game Boy. Would you be interested in a 4K Switch?
Not even necessarily, because I don't have a 4K TV. So, unless I'm willing to drop it on the TV too, probably not. However, I'm kind of in the market for the regular Switch because I only got the light one because it was the middle of the pandemic and you couldn't find a Switch.
Exactly.
True.
It's hard to find.
And I needed Animal Crossing, so I found this light Switch. So I do want one that's for the TV that is like a regular one, but I don't know if I need the 4K because graphics are pretty good as they are. I feel like 4K is great and all, but it's a lot of setup, just kind of like VR,
Yeah, I don't think Animal Crossing would benefit. I don't think it would get any better in 4K, right?
Right, or maybe if I got, Zelda Breath of the Wild, or, some of the Pokemon games might, do a little bit better with it. But, I'm not playing anything that's super graphic intensive on the Switch. So, I don't know.
Nathan?
I agree with everything. But I want to add to a little disclaimer. I've been wrong about this before. I didn't think Nintendo would ever bring out another iterative, but the fact that they brought out a portable Switch, a portable only, wasn't necessarily because it was out of convenience. It was money, because Nintendo usually has 2 revenue streams. They make a lot of money from the home console, and they make a lot of money from the portable console. They don't have a portable console anymore. For the most part, the 3DS is DOA. There's no development for it. So to make up for it, they need to have iterative consoles. I do not like iterative consoles. I do not want a 4K Switch. I think it is disruptive.
I will not play them in a box. I will not play it with a fox.
I mean, if you gave it to me, I'd play it. But what I'm saying, it's bad for the industry. Like, the Xbox One X was a major disaster for Microsoft. It was a bad decision. The PS4 Pro, not very good for Sony, because what it's done, it's create the illusion of next gen when it's not next gen. So you have these Band-Aid consoles. All it does is screw with developers who now, you saw this. Look up the story after the show. Go look at what's happening with the new Xbox. Nobody knows what the hell's happening. Nobody knows about upgrade paths. Things are getting delayed because Microsoft has insisted on making everything intergenerational. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. It has never worked before.
Because that's the only way this is going to be sustainable. Because personally, I'm tired of having to buy a new system every time a new game comes out.
Well, that's true, but
or a new version of the game whenever a new system comes out. Yeah.
Right. But here's the problem. Here's the problem, though, is that when you look at game development doesn't work like movies. It's not about better special effects. Like, your DVD player from 1998 will play a DVD from 2020, sure, right? But the problem is that with the game console hardware architecture has to be significantly different in order to give you benefits that you couldn't get before. And so, for example, with a PC, you can add a graphics card, get fancier graphics. But without PC architecture, with CPU power, you can't necessarily get more complex physics-based games. You need better hardware for that. At a certain point, you can only upgrade a x86 system so far. At a certain, you've done this. You have a PC. At a certain point, you need to let the past go to progress.
Go to ARM. Yep.
Well, we're not talking about Apple. So,
Well,
but
but you're saying that you support RTX. That's a good take. I like that.
No. RTX buzzwords. I support better graphics, sure. But the problem is, though, if the core, like for example, Windows for years was based on a certain core. It wasn't until they let go of that core when they went from 32-bit to 64 that you had all these massive improvements. So on one hand, it's nice having compatibility, and I do think backwards compatibility should be there. I absolutely do. But I do not think that a next-generation Xbox game should be playable on an Xbox One. I don't. I think it's terrible. I think it's a terrible idea because it sets the limit much lower than it could be. Like if you paying,
of course, like you should be able to play the older games on the newer systems.
Absolutely,
games on the
no question,
that makes sense.
Absolutely, but they don't do that. They used to do that. They don't do that now. They make some BS excuse. Yeah. They're doing it for greed.
There's music in the background, and I want to thank both of you for, of course, being here. And everyone, hey, that's the show. I apologize. I was stupid. I thought that we could run through topics quickly. That is not what we do here.
Not gonna happen.
Everyone, if you want to find out more, of course, you can go check out popzara.com. And by the way, we'll include a link to this thing you sent over, Nathan, about the talking to Kevin James and talks not for resale plus retro gaming. Glad you had him on. This sounds like a very interesting topic.
Yeah, interesting guy. Yeah.
There you go. So everyone, once again, popzara.com, you can check it out, or computeramerica.com, and we'll have a link right to it. So Nathan, until next month, I want to thank you so much, and thanks for being here.
Nice to meet you, Krisha. Looking forward to talking with you again. Thank you.
Absolutely. And then, of course, Carissa, thank you for, of course, being here. You have to, and hey, you have to be back here Monday, as well as everyone out there. Thank you so much for tuning into Computer America. We'll catch you Monday, a full week of shows. Bye, everyone.
Bye.